If you live in the UK, you would have two main goals: earn money, get on the property ladder. Like, that's it. And when I moved to the UK, I definitely bought into this UK dream of, getting onto the property ladder after, getting a job. And it's been a journey trying to save up, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. My name is Jadesola, and today's video was actually inspired by some YouTubers that I actually follow, like Lamide Elizabeth and Patricia Bright, who openly talk about money. And I know that talking about money is not something that a lot of us are used to. We're not used to talking about how much we have, how much we're earning, what we're planning to do. And I think it's important that we start to get more comfortable talking about money. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to try out and be as open as I can with, my money goals. So at the beginning of this video, I talked about like the UK dream of getting on the property ladder, and I have spent a lot of time really just thinking about what I really want. I've been spending a lot of time ever since I moved to the UK, really just trying to learn as much as I can about the real estate economy here. And I would say that, there's just so many like information just like coming at me left, right, and center. One of it is that most people that I speak with talk about they advise me not to live in London, and I have been very adamant about the fact that I want to continue to live in London. I don't know why, but I just know that I want to continue to be here. Maybe because there are like more like opportunities here as well, in terms of like, jobs and everything, the amount of salary you would earn, you would also spend more, right? So I know that I want to continue to live in London. And when I started to really think about, getting on the property ladder, really you have like maybe two choices, so to speak. You can either, buy a house that you're going to be living in, or buy a house that you're going to let out to other tenants, or buy a property that, is also like maybe for commercial purposes, like maybe running a business there or using it for Airbnb or that kind of thing. And that really got me thinking when I was trying to think of, okay, so if I'm going to get on the property ladder, I know that the biggest thing that I'm going to need to save up for is the deposit, with either of the options of maybe buying the house that I'm going to live in or buying the house that I'm going to let out. There are advantages and disadvantages to any of those decisions. And I started thinking about the fact that even if like I'm going to be buying a house that I'm going to live in, it's not likely that I'll be able to afford to buy a house in London. That's because houses in London are just, generally very, very expensive. I could say that maybe if I wanted to buy a flat, that might be more affordable. But if I'm trying to buy like, a terrace house, that would be really just pushing it for me. The other option would be, buy to let. And there are places where maybe you can buy like really cheap, but they're not anywhere near London at the end of the day. So I'm still like in the process of like settling on exactly what I want to do. But what I try to do is this, right? So if I'm going to buy a house that I'm going to live in, I'm going to need an average of 5 to 10% deposit. And if I'm buying a commercial property or an investment property, it's going to be at least 20 to 25% deposit. So that changes everything for you if you're trying to save up to buy a house. The moment you make up your mind that you are not buying a property that you're going to be living in, you need to come up with more money to actually save up. So when I was thinking about saving up £50,000, I came up with that figure thinking that if I was going to buy a house not too far from London that I was going to live in, I would need 10% at least to buy the property. And then I thought of maybe average price of the property will probably be like maybe 300 to 400,000 pounds, and I could have the deposit as well as have some other money, because it's not just your deposit that you're going to be paying for. There are other associated costs like stamp duty and some legal fees that you still have to sort out. So I looked at the fact that 50k would probably be enough for sort of like the budget of the property that I'm going to be looking at to buy in future. And then I also looked at the option of, like a buy-to-let option. And I looked at, 25% deposit on a property. And I thought about, say a property that is like maybe 120 to 150,000 pounds, somewhere far away from London. I would still be able to come up with the 25% deposit on that amount and still have enough to sort out all other expenses that are going to come up as a result of me buying this property. So that was how I came up with the target in mind in the first place. If you're thinking of buying a house, like I said earlier, you really need to think about the type of property that you want to buy. If it's something you're going to be living in, it's going to be cheaper for you. If it's something that you're going to be buying as an investment property, then it's going to be more expensive in terms of like your upfront cost for buying the property. So now as to like how I'm saving, if you haven't seen my last video on like my goals for 2022, please go and watch it. I'm going to link it in the description box below. But basically, I gave myself a target to save this money by end of July, and I am not anywhere close to this target for so many reasons, because I decided to increase my expenses and I did not necessarily increase my income like I had planned to. Bulk of my income is coming from my 9 to 5, and I'm actively saving on a monthly basis using my savings account with Revolut. So they have like this supposed high interest yielding account. Don't worry about that. It's rubbish rate, so to speak. But that is where I have been saving my money on a monthly basis. Once I receive my salary, I move some money into that account on a monthly basis. So the other option for me was to put money into like the lifetime ISA account, which is an account that, is for saving towards your first home or retirement, basically. And what that account does is that any money you put in there within a tax year, the government is going to give you up to 25% of the amount. But the maximum you can save in a year is £4,000 within that tax year, and then you would get a maximum of 25%, which is £1,000. And I thought about putting money in there, just to get free money, because really, also looking at the fact that I'm new to the UK and my credit profile is not as strong, it may take me much longer to actually be able to get a mortgage to buy a house, even while I'm still saving. So I thought of, ways that I could earn more money even while saving. But when I couldn't make up my mind on whether or not I was going to buy my first home that I'm going to be living in, or whether or not I'm going to be buying an investment property, because you can only use that account to buy the home you're going to be living in. Otherwise, you have to wait till you're 50 years old to withdraw the money. I didn't see this as a viable option for me, so I didn't take that option, to be fair. But if you're going to be saving to buy a house you're going to be living in, this is a way to get like free £1,000 every tax year to get more money towards your deposit. And if you're a double income household, both yourself and your spouse can actually save inside two separate lifetime ISA accounts and earn £1,000 each towards your housing deposit as well. If you're trying to save more money, it's either you're reducing your expenses or you're increasing your income. I have unfortunately increased my expense over the last 6 months, so therefore I'm working towards increasing my income by creating other streams of income for myself. Now, I mentioned in my last video about some of the things that I'm working on. It's going to take some time before they start to yield really material outcome, but it's still not a bad idea to set that in motion, even though these things are not yielding as much as I would like them to yield right now. But at least it's, contributing in its own way towards me achieving my goals. The other way I'm trying to save more money in terms of lowering my expense, especially after I had, increased it considerably in the last 6 months, is to just cut out some things that I absolutely can do without. And one of it is like salon visits. I have been doing a lot of DIY with my hair. I make it myself or wear wigs for the most part, because making hair is expensive. I've also reduced the amount of times I do order in. Those are sacrifices that I have to make. Socializing as well, or traveling. I try to keep my socials within a particular budget. For every time I'm traveling or I'm going somewhere, I have a specific budget that I don't want to exceed. And the ideal for me would be £100 to say, if I do travel outside London, right, plus the travel plus buying things there, I don't want it to exceed £100. So I'm trying as much as possible to still have a life and not necessarily deprive myself of so much, but within a reasonable budget, and find ways of enjoying things that are low budget for me. I've also not been doing a lot of shopping with my own money. Thankfully, when I moved into my apartment, they gave a £500 shopping voucher, and that's sort of what I've been spending for the most part. So I have been spending it, wisely, only buy the things that I need. That has also helped me to cut down on, the amount of money that ordinarily I would spend shopping. So that's it about my journey. I would keep you updated, hopefully at the end of the year, on how far I've gone with saving up for this deposit. And if you're also trying to save up to buy a property here in the UK, I'd like to hear from you as well. How is it going? Are you on track, or are you completely off track like me? And it'll be nice to hear your experience and ways at which you're actually also saving towards this deposit. Hopefully, very soon we can all share really good news with each other about how far we've come on our journey. Anyways, I've come to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe and share, and I will see you next time. Bye.